Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning to you. It's May 21st, 2024. Good to have you in company for another Morning Barbados presentation. I'm Tisha Hines, and I'll be here with you until 8 o'clock this morning. I certainly hope you're having a great day already for those of you who are early risers. And for those of you who are up and getting ready to head out, I wish you a wonderful day today. Another long weekend, so I certainly hope you got lots of rest as well and remembered the reason for the holiday in the first place. I know there were lots of things happening over the weekend, and a lot of you got out to the Guynon Awards. Of course, it was Gospel Fest as well. The more senior people among us had their time to do some sports over the weekend at the National Senior Games. And so I know that you had a busy weekend. So let's hope that you have a great week ahead as well. Hey, just an update for you before we jump into today's show. Match number 3 of the 2024 Men's 15s Tournament, Rugby Tournament, saw Barbados hosting St. Vincent and the Grenadines for an international test match on Saturday, just past at the Garrison Savannah. Final score, Barbados 80, St. Vincent and the Grenadines 0. So how about that? The Bajan guys came in and shared with us, and they're doing well already. So congratulations to all involved. I know you're working hard, and there are lots of other games coming up, so make sure you head out to represent for the Barbados rugby team as well. Today, we are going to be reaching out and talking to quite a few people. We want to make sure we keep you informed on this Tuesday. I have to keep reminding you it's Tuesday, and by extension, reminding myself. You know how it goes when you have a holiday at the beginning of the week. Oftentimes, it feels like, yesterday felt a little like Sunday, so today feels a little like Monday, but it's actually Tuesday, so we have to get into the week. And speaking of getting into and quickly, we're going to be talking a little bit about hurricane preparedness today. Kathy Daniel, member of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is going to be in with Simon Aline of the DEM. And they're going to be talking about a hurricane preparedness seminar that is coming up in a matter of days. And we'll let you know also how you can become involved in that. Now, we started speaking with Early Childhood Development Coordinator at the Child Care Board, Gail Carter, last week as we continue to observe Child Month. And we were talking about stimulation in the early years. Very interesting discussion we had about young children and what we can do to stimulate them, how they're affected by things like technology and the ages that we should be mindful about them using technology and stuff like that. And today we're going to continue that discussion. We're going to look at some activities that you can use to substitute putting the children in front of the screen. Certainly for those who are under 2 years old, she'll be in to talk about that with us. And of course, we're going to be taking a peek back at the recently concluded Roger Boyce Classic, not to mention that we are also in the month of May, and we've already had the official launch of Crop Over 2024. It is the season of emancipation, so we will be sharing some of that with you as CBC always takes charge. This year, we definitely are feeling the festival. But we want to get started this morning by talking to Ambassador David Comichon, Barbados ambassador to CARICOM, and he has indeed been busy over the last couple of weeks. We've missed him for the last 2 weeks, but he's in Barbados, so we're lucky to have him with us this morning. Good morning to you, Ambassador. Welcome.
Morning, Tisha. It's great to be back.
All right, so you missed quite a few things. Usually you're bringing us up to scratch. I hope I don't have to bring you up to scratch this morning. And I know that's most certainly not true because you really have been at the forefront of all that happened in the time that you were not on island. I know that you probably were still, participating from behind the scenes.
No, but when you're traveling, you do sometimes miss some important happenings in Barbados. But yes, this has been a very busy time for me traveling. When last I was on, 2 weeks ago, that Tuesday I was leaving for Suriname to attend the ministerial meeting of the Association of Caribbean States. I know we always talk about CARICOM, and Barbadians know that I am the ambassador to CARICOM, but I'm also Barbados' ambassador to the Association of Caribbean States, which is this wider organization of the Greater Caribbean. It was the brainchild of CARICOM. It actually, in a sense, came out of CARICOM, but it is CARICOM Plus. It is CARICOM Plus the countries of Central America, the countries of Northern South America, Venezuela, Colombia, also Mexico, Cuba, Dominican Republic. And yes, so every year it has its ministerial council meeting, which is like the business meeting, where it looks at from budget to the different special committees to the directorates, etc., etc. So that was in Suriname this year. And then the week after, last week, I was off to Guyana for CARICOM's, the meeting of the Council for Trade and Economic Development. And then tomorrow I'm off to Dominica for the meeting of CARICOM foreign ministers. So yes, it'd be good for me to give our people just a little insight into what happened at those various meetings.
All right, well, let's start at the Association of Caribbean States, or ACS, Ministerial Council meeting that happened in Suriname. And first of all, I think it's important to kind of lay out for us the difference when we're talking about the Association of Caribbean States. Is that very different from the membership of what we know of CARICOM, and in terms of the countries that are part of it?
Yeah, well, just think of it as CARICOM Plus. I have a map. I'm not sure if you got the map, but the map kind of lays out. It's 25 member states. CARICOM is 15. The Association of Caribbean States is 25. And they're all grouped into different groups. So we have the CARICOM group, we have the Central American group, and then we have the group of three, the big three: Mexico, Venezuela, Colombia. And then we have what they call the non-group group, which is a group of Panama, Cuba, and Dominican Republic. And so these groups, they share the leadership of the ACS. So for example, over the last year, Suriname was chair of the Ministerial Council. That's why we met in Suriname. But Suriname's chairmanship has ended, and so at the meeting, we established Colombia as the new chair. So Colombia is part of the group of three. So it is the turn of the group of three to chair the ACS. So Colombia is the new chair. And then the ACS, to explain the ACS, it is more about collaboration and cooperation. So it is not as deep an integration as CARICOM. CARICOM is deeper. CARICOM is about a single market and single economy and functional cooperation manifested in CARICOM institutions. It's about foreign policy coordination. The ACS is not about any of, the ACS doesn't go that deep. And if I tell you the names of the special committees of the ACS, you'll get a sense of what really it does. So, for example, in addition to the Ministerial Council, you have the Special Committee on Sustainable Tourism. So these are the priority areas of the ACS: sustainable tourism. And incidentally, Barbados was the chair last year, and now we are the vice chair, and we were represented by Ms. Marsha Allen of the BTMI. We are now the vice chair. Then there's a special committee on disaster risk reduction. So that gives you an idea The ACS is concerned with hurricanes and disasters in the region. Mexico is the chair of that special committee. Then there's a special committee on transport, and this will please you, Tisha. I know you're always onto the issue of transport within the region. Guatemala is the chair of that special committee. And incidentally, these special committees are made up of member states. So it's chaired by a particular member states, and you have two vice chairs from different member states and a rapporteur. Then there's a special committee on trade development and external economic relations. Martinique chairs that. Special committee on budget and administration. Well, that's about the internal budgetary and administrative affairs. And special committee on cooperation and resource mobilization. In addition, there's the Caribbean Sea Commission, because it is really the Caribbean Sea that brings us all together. The countries of the ACS are countries that surround this 1 million square mile Caribbean Sea that we all claim. And then one of the newest entities is the Sargassum Commission. This is something that was set up quite recently as a response to the Sargassum challenge that virtually all of the countries face. So that's the structure, and that structure tells you that the ACS is really about collaboration in relation to transport, disaster risk reduction, sustainable tourism, trade. That's basically how it functions. One of the things that we didn't accomplish at the council meeting, which we really should have, is that we are supposed to transition to a new Secretary General. So the current Secretary General is a gentleman from Panama. So he's part of the non-group group, Panama, Cuba, Dominican Republic. But it is now the turn of the Central American group to provide the Secretary General of the organization. But for some reason, they have not been able yet to come up with a candidate. So the current Secretary General, his term is being extended by 3 months to give this group an extended opportunity to arrive at a candidate for Secretary General. So that's basically it. Very important is that we are now celebrating the 30th anniversary of the ACS. And Barbados went to the meeting with a proposal that we do, as part of that celebration, we do a research project, a publication on the history of the Caribbean Sea. Because we said, look, what binds us all together is this Caribbean Sea. Everybody knows about the Mediterranean Sea, the Arabian Sea, the Adriatic Sea. Why don't we do something to lift up our Caribbean Sea to the same status of these other famous seas? And so that idea was readily accepted. And we are saying not just a book, but also a documentary, also some things for children, whether it be cartoons, comic books, etc. So hopefully that will be accomplished, and we will have something that really brings the ACS alive to our people, because a lot of our people really don't know much about the ACS. So we said, look, let's tell the history of our Caribbean Sea. I mean, from the distant past with the Amerindian people who were up and down this Caribbean Sea, to the European colonization, the pirates, the colonization, all the rest of it, and then all of the wonders of the Caribbean Sea.
Well, that excites me for more reasons than one. I most certainly look forward to that. A series on the Caribbean Sea would absolutely be intriguing, and I think it's timely as well. We're going to take a break here and come back and have more discussion with the ambassador about all he's been up to. And we're going to take a look next at the CARICOM Council for Trade and Economic Development meeting that was held earlier this month in Guyana. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb. From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
So good in a party yet. You know why? I need
My friend.
morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Welcome back to Morning Barbados. It is already 21 minutes after 6 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. Good to have you in company of the little ones who are heading off to school or still doing exams in the throes of exams as they get ready for the promotional exams. End of term is term 3 already. I know that can be quite a challenge, so a special good morning to you. Make sure that you get a little rest. And parents, don't go too hard on them. Whatever happens, they'll be all right. Things will turn out. We know that as adults. We're still here with David Comishong, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM. We're going to have to add an etc. to that. But we were talking a little bit about the ACS and the project that you brought to them on the Caribbean Sea. So very interesting project that you tabled at the last meeting. I want to lay out a little bit the shape that these meetings take in terms of how you're able to get through seemingly so much in 2, sometimes just 3 days. You know, is it that Barbados sits in on sessions or plenary sessions or maybe meetings on a select few things and other countries that see things that might be a little more relevant in their neck of the woods, so to speak, sitting on other sessions? Or is it does it take the form of a larger meeting with everybody kind of weighing in?
No, it's the large meeting with everybody weighing in, but the trick to it is that you always have an officials preparatory meeting a week or 2 before the ministerial meeting. So a lot of the work is already done. By the time the ministers came to Suriname, for example, officials had already sat down and gone through the entire agenda and really worked out most of the things. So typically, the ministers come with most of the issues already sorted out, and it is only if there's some remaining thorny issues or issues that people at an officials level really could not deal with. So then they would fill in those blanks, so to speak. And similarly with the, so for example, the Council for CARICOM's Council for Trade and Economic Development, the meeting in Guyana last week, there would have been an officials meeting 2 weeks before. So the officials, because if you look at the agenda, you're quite right, Tisha. I mean, this is the agenda for the Quartet meeting, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pages, right? I mean, a multiplicity of items. But so the only reason the ministers are able to get through this agenda in 2 days is really because a lot of the work has already been done by the officials, you know, and that's how these organizations tend to work. But we had, you know, again, we call this the COTED, the Council for Trade and Economic Development, and it brings together the ministers with responsibility for trade. So, for example, leading the Barbados delegation at this meeting was Honorable Sandra Husbands, who was filling in for Honorable Kerry Simmons. And why Minister Husbands? Well, before she went over to the Ministry of Education, she was our Minister of Foreign Trade. So, you know, we are dealing with things like the implementation of the single market and single economy. We are looking at the issue of the free movement of CARICOM nationals, which, you remember, we said that we had set ourselves the target date of the end of March, and now it has been postponed. But it's been postponed because some of the countries have been nitpicking over little things like what is the definition of primary health care, what is the definition of secondary education. Should CARICOM nationals, do they have to arrive at the airport with a passport or with some other form of identification? So these are little things that some member states have, you know, kind of been nitpicking at, and so it's now been put into the hands of the heads of government, and they're going to be meeting early next month, hopefully to resolve these little issues and be able to deliver the full freedom of movement at the Heads of Government Conference in July. Then there were things like the CARICOM Competition Commission, which is like our Fair Trading Commission, but on a regional scale. What is happening with that? The number of, under the revised treaty, every CARICOM country should really have a competition commission, something like a fair trading commission. Several of the member states don't. And Barbados has proposed, okay, well, why not give the regional CARICOM Competition Commission the power to be both a regional body, but also a national body, especially for those member states that don't have national competition commissions. And so we set up a working group at this meeting. We agreed on a working group to look at that idea, which is an idea of Barbados. Then there's Article 164 of the revised treaty, which is an article that says because there are going to be winners and losers in the single market and single economy, there must be this special regime for the lesser developed countries where they get tariff protection for a period of time against the bigger countries, like the more developed ones like Barbados and Jamaica and Trinidad, etc. And they are not satisfied with how this has been implemented, and so there was a lot of discussion about that. And then, of course, the part of the business of the COTED is to look at, you know, we have the common external tariff that applies a tariff to foreign goods coming into our region, because we want to privilege our own domestic producers, but countries come to the COTED to say, look, we don't have enough domestic production capacity on this good or that good, so we are asking that the tariff be suspended so that we get the right to bring in these foreign goods duty-free or at a lesser duty. So we always go through this thing. So for example, both Trinidad and Antigua were asking for suspension for some types of cement. And so Barbados was able to say, but our rock cement company is now not only producing for the Barbados market, but it is now also exporting, because there was a period of time when it was just producing for Barbados. So we were able to inform them it is now exporting to the region, so you don't need a suspension for this or that, you know. So things like this, and then there's some countries that breach the rules, and the COTED looks at these breaches. For example, Trinidad and Tobago for a long time now has been keeping out Grenada's honey. Some strange reason that they've not been allowing Grenada honey into Trinidad and Tobago. So we addressed that, and they assured us that it's something to do with new legislation, and they're about to pass this legislation. So stuff like that, the stuff of trade, of customs and tariffs and goods and so forth. So that's basically what COTED is all about. Of course, we also look at our external economic and trade relations. So we get a report on the latest ministerial conference at the World Trade Organization. We looked at our upcoming discussions with Colombia about a free trade agreement and so forth. Then there are things like standards, CrossQ. So CrossQ comes to the meeting, and CrossQ is presenting some regional standard that they want the COTED to approve. The big thing that CrossQ is working on now is front of label packaging, you know, for food stuff and so forth. So things like that. That's the basic business of the Council for Trade and Economic Development.
And of course, these are organizations, many of them based here in Barbados, but others based in other parts of the Caribbean, that really help to oil this machinery and keep it going in terms of the relationships we have and how we keep each other accountable, and all in keeping with what's coming up in Barbados starting today, which is the Barbados UNCTAD Global Supply Chain Forum. I understand even the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization and other such international organizations will be represented here in Barbados at this forum that starts today.
That's a big one, Tisha.
Absolutely.
Barbados and the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development partnering to hold this very first high-level global supply chain forum. And, you know, Barbados has been chairing UNCTAD now for the past 3 years. You know, we have held the presidency of UNCTAD. And when we held the 15th UNCTAD in Barbados 3 years ago, it was Prime Minister Motley who said, look, we are very concerned about these global supply chains. We had the problem during COVID, where small island developing countries like ours could easily be shut out of the global supplies. And even outside of periods of crisis, she's been making the point, we want to transition to renewable energy, but we can't get access on the international market to the batteries that we need, to a lot of the materials that we need to actually photovoltaic systems and so forth. So UNCTAD listened to Barbados, and they've worked with us now to have this major forum here where we are going to be looking at this problem. We're going to be looking at the problem of the freight rates that have gone up, the cost of transportation for goods, and they're also going to be looking forward towards other challenges that might come on the horizon that might present problems, especially for small island developing countries that have open economies, that depend so much on international trade, you know. So it's a very important meeting. It starts today. It's a 4-day conference, ends on Friday. And then from that conference and what is determined at this Global Supply Chain Forum, those results will be taken into the International Small Island Developing States Conference that is being held in Antigua at the beginning of next week.
That's right, SIDS 4. Before we move off to SIDS 4, though, I want to spend a little time on the conference and how, I mean, it's always a good time to talk about supply chain, but when we look at what's happened not only here in Barbados but across the world in the last couple of years by way of the global supply chain, we see how we can be affected in a massive way. And I think what's been going on has sparked deeper discussion on why we need to be far more self-sufficient, particularly where food is concerned. And so it's interesting to look at how that ties into the 25 by 25 initiative that's being shared. But I want to talk specifically about what's happening with the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal, and the Red Sea. Very different happenings with the 3 passages where we have a lot of trade happening with shipping and so on. But with troubles with all of them, obviously the Red Sea, given what's happening in the Middle East now with the the warring factions, water level problems with the Panama Canal, and then there being trouble with blockage and so on with the Suez Canal. Those things are things that we might feel in this part of the world won't affect us, but we have indeed been seeing some of the spin-off effects. So what, to your mind, are some of the major things that Barbados will be tabling at this UNCTAD UN Global Supply Chain Forum as the country kind of with lead responsibility at this time?
Well, I'm not sure what the specific items Barbados might be tabling, but I know that Barbados's mission at this event really is to represent small island developing states. And okay, because coming to this conference are leaders of the relevant international organizations, the WTO, you said maritime,
IMO, yes.
transport, all of that, plus the private sector players, the people involved in transport and trade and so forth. And I think what Barbados wants to do is to get them to think about the plight, the situation of small island developing states, because we tend to get lost. We can be easily overlooked because we are such a small part of the market. And Barbados wants them to think about looking at challenges that currently affect us, like the inordinately high freight rates, the inordinately high transportation costs, maritime transportation, but also to look forward, to anticipate challenges that might come, and to start not just thinking about it, but start making policy decisions that would prepare us to deal with the situation of small island developing states. But you're quite right. I mean, the world is a very interconnected place. So you have a war in Ukraine, and immediately that sets off a whole chain reaction that sends the prices of certain food items skyrocketing. So Barbados is saying, let us pay some special attention to the vulnerability of small island developing states, and let us begin to think about how we can be more protective of small island developing states. So I think that's where we are going. But we have learned the lesson that while we do that, the most sensible thing for us to do really is to be as self-reliant as possible. And we have learned, that's why we, as you said, the food production initiative, the 25 by 25, but also the initiative that's been pushed by Prime Minister Motley, that we must produce vaccines and medications in our own region, so that if push comes to shove, we are not so vulnerable and exposed. And hence, the collaboration with Rwanda and with hopefully with Cuba as well. We are going to be setting up these life sciences parks here in Barbados, and a critical component of the life science park will be the manufacture of vaccines and other medications. So that is the kind of thinking that we really need to deal with this very unstable and sometimes heartless world. Mm-hmm.
How are we faring in terms of, I mean, there's so much happening. In the coming weeks, Barbados really is going to be a little more than a hive of activity. I think that'll be an understatement, with looking toward cricket and all that's happening across the island to prepare for that. One of the countries we're hosting, Oman, they're already here. There was a match at UE yesterday with a Barbados Select 11, and I got a chance to peek at that. We have this UNCTAD conference coming up. We're getting ready for the 4th installment of the SIDS conference in Antigua, as you mentioned. Talk about how Barbados is faring generally in terms of what we're doing at all of these conferences to ensure that we are ahead of or in step with where we need to be to accomplish some of these sustainable development goals that we've been talking about for so long. Initially, 2030 seemed like a lifetime away, but here we are, literally just a few years out.
Yeah, you're so correct, Tisha. You know, Barbados is in the vanguard of so many things. You know, whether it's the Bridgetown Initiative, the whole climate change agenda, Global Supply Forum, the very first time that UNCTAD or any other institution is holding a high-level forum looking at global supply chains and the vulnerability of small countries. So yes, we are out there. Our Prime Minister, probably the most respected international statesperson today in the world, and really in the vanguard. My concern is that our people, that we are communicating with our people are knowledgeable about all that their country is involved in, and that they feel a part of it, and that they're participating in it. And this is where the news, the media houses, the work that you do is so important. This is why I make the effort to wake up early every Tuesday morning to come to do these programs, because I know that this is so critical. It's so critical that our people feel a sense of involvement and participation. So I would like to hope that, you know, that as we do these powerful events, the Global Supply Chain Forum starting today at Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center, and the eyes of the world will be on, you know, on Barbados over the next 4 days, yes, and then the Cricket World Cup and so forth. But that we really do reach our people, and that they feel an integral part of it all, because that's what development is all about. You know, it's about people being connected and participating and feeling a part of it, and that is what worries me. It worries me that sometimes, and a lot depends on the media and the media house, because if the media house is focusing on some little titillating triviality to the neglect of you know, much more substantial things, and is not directing the attention of the citizenry to those much more substantial things, it means that we are really doing ourselves a disservice. And I fear that too much of that really happens, the little trivialities that make the front pages, etc., to the neglect of really substantial things. I would like, for example, the young people of Barbados to really appropriate this issue of environmentalism, climate change, Bridgetown Initiative, because this is so critical to the world that is going to be left to them, you know. And in fact, I can't even say left to them, because it's not a futuristic issue. The issue is with us right now. So I would love our young people to become the national population that has really taken an interest in this issue, and, you know, is really on the cutting edge of it. But that will depend on how well it is communicated to them, that we are able to prick their imagination and to get them really eager about it.
That's why it's important, Ambassador. I can agree with what you're saying about the media needing to take, a proactive approach in terms of how we report in our quest to be responsible and to share all that's happening. But for a long time, I felt as though there was a them and us kind of syndrome going on, particularly with a lot of these closed door sessions where the mainstream media weren't necessarily welcome. So I feel that has changed in a great deal in the last few years. So it truly has made a big difference. I remember being a very young journalist and being able to go off to the Commonwealth Youth Ministers meeting to be able to witness all that that was happening then and share with what was happening back home. These aren't things that we necessarily saw for a long time. I'd say over maybe a 15-year period here in Barbados, but a change I think has come again, where we are kind of reporting on what missions across the globe are doing, and bringing more of these meetings here, sharing in a way that the average Barbadian can understand the importance of why we need to have an UNCTAD conference here, and what it means for Barbadians to be able to attract these high-level discussions and fora. So I feel like it has changed.
You're moving in the right direction.
I feel like we're moving in the right direction in terms of being more welcoming for the media.
Yeah, well, I mean, truth be told, I mean, this is part of the hallmark of Prime Minister Motley's leadership. I mean, she's very attuned to the need for communication, so much so that when she travels with her own communications specialist, you know, Mr. Charles Jong, who captures a lot on the video and share, and she is attuned to the whole social media platforms and so forth. So yes, you're quite right that she has opened up, she has moved more in that direction than perhaps previous administrations. But of course, there is still that institutional culture, especially a civil service culture, where we don't speak publicly and so forth. I have found that, yes, as a person coming, I'm not a traditional civil servant, you know, I've come from outside, but I have found that there's that civil service culture that you don't engage with the media, you don't speak publicly and so forth, and we really need to break that down, because development is about the involvement of the people. You can't have development if the people are not involved. You may be doing some good things, but is it really deep-rooted development if the people are not involved? No. And the people cannot be involved if you are not communicating and sharing information, and then setting up mechanisms for two-way street too, where there can be, you know, feedback and so forth. So we just, you know, I'm agreeing with you. I think our Prime Minister has brought that new, she's actually led the way with that new impulse, but it needs to go further, it needs to go deeper, and she can't do it all. So, you know, she needs to be backed up in multiple ways.
All right, you're heading off to COFCOR in Dominica, are you, in the coming days?
Tomorrow.
All right.
Tomorrow. So unfortunately, you know, last week, was it last week? I missed quite a bit, or week before, I missed quite a bit of the Liberian visit. And similarly, I'm going to miss quite a bit of the Global Supply Chain Forum, because duty calls on me to go to Dominica for this meeting. And again, we're going to be looking at basically CARICOM's bilateral relations. We're going to be examining our relations with Brazil, Canada, Cuba, India, Japan, Korea, Mexico, US, and Africa. And I guess we're going to be reflecting on this pleasing development that occurred, where 4 CARICOM member states recognized the state of Palestine, sending a very powerful message, I think, internationally. Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, the Bahamas, and Jamaica. And I would imagine we are also going to be reflecting on what recently happened with relation to Cuba, where the United States removed Cuba from the list of countries that were not fully cooperating with the fight against terrorism. So they have conceded, yes, Cuba is fully cooperating with the fight against terrorism, but the US State Department still has Cuba on the list of countries that sponsor terrorism. So massive contradiction. On the one hand, you're saying Cuba is fully cooperating in the fight against terrorism, but then you still have Cuba on a list of state sponsors of terrorism. So I think we'll probably zero in on that, and how we can call that contradiction to the attention of the U.S. authorities. So
Lots to do.
Lots to do.
Lots to do in the
UN
coming
agenda,
days.
you know, update on Haiti, the application for associate membership. Martinique is applying, Dominican Republic, Curacao, Bermuda is applying for full membership of CARICOM. So yes, those are some of the issues we will be addressing in Dominica. I'll be able to come and give a report to you next week. Have on some of these matters.
Understatement of the year. He said he's not the traditional civil servant. I think you're the farthest thing from the definition of a civil servant. But I want to thank you for coming in and sharing with us. Pretty long session for us today, but we had lots to get through. And we ourselves have kind of set up a few interviews with a few of the international agents who will be here for the conference in the coming days. So you too can look forward to hearing a lot more.
Thank God for CBC.
You better believe it. We're hoping to be able to connect with the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization and a few other key players for this Barbados UNCTAD Global Supply Chain Forum that's happening now in Barbados. So thank you so much, Ambassador. Safe travels, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, time for a break here on Morning Barbados. We still have an update of the news coming your way, and we're also talking about early stimulation in children and a whole lot more. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb. From the beautiful shores of the gem of the
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Morning Barbados on this Tuesday. I have to keep reminding myself, because it feels like Monday. I don't know. Do you agree, Kathy?
Absolutely. Up to this morning when I was leaving the house, I told my husband, I said, all right, today is Tuesday. Today is Tuesday.
You told your husband or you told yourself?
Oh, well, telling myself, really.
All right, so Kathy Daniel is a member of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Church of Jesus Christ
of Latter-day Saints. Let me write church so I don't forget again. But today we're talking about hurricane preparedness, a seminar that you guys have coming up. Before we get there, congratulations. We started at the top of the show by congratulating the Barbados national rugby team, and I know you are intimately involved with that as well.
Absolutely. I'm the PRO for the union, so when I have on my rugby hat, I'm very happy. And the performance on Saturday night, wow, that's all I can say.
80, love?
80.
And they have a lot going on. They're doing traveling, and so we definitely look forward to.
I will keep you informed.
This 15th tournament
Yes.
that's going on with the national rugby team. I know a lot of secondary schools are also getting involved as well.
Finally getting back up and running after being cut down by COVID for 3 years.
All right, so at hand, we're talking about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints seminar that's coming up on hurricane preparedness. Talk to me about why it's important for the church to be able to kind of reach into the community and share with your membership and others on things like hurricane preparedness.
Well, if you think about it, we have been warned for quite some time. I think up to recently, Sabu Best was talking about the chances of our being seriously affected by a tropical cyclone this year. And we've been getting the warnings from various experts around the globe. So at some point, we're going to get hit. I know I have aunts and uncles who went through Hurricane Jeanette. And my aunt, I was speaking to her up to recently, she lives in the US, and she was saying she will never forget that. At some point, we are going to be affected. And there's a scripture in our Doctrine and Covenants that says, if ye are prepared, ye shall not fear. And if we can reach out and help our brothers and sisters, because the hurricane, the tropical storm, whatever it is not going to care whether you're a Latter-day Saint, a Muslim, an atheist, a Christian, whatever. It ain't going to care. It's going to flatten you.
So let's talk about who will be at the seminar and the particular areas you're going to focus on.
Right. This is, I think I've lost track. It's either the third or fourth year in a row that we've done this. And I believe the speaker is going to be a Mr. Simon Aline from the Department of Emergency Management. So we are the hosts. We are the facilitators. We have it set up so that the DEM can come. They can make their presentation. We've got a projector. We've got internet. Whatever, we invite everyone. It's open to the public. It's at 10 o'clock on Saturday, May the 25th. It's at the Christchurch Chapel, which is at the, as we say, at the top of the little hill in Rendezvous. And we invite everyone to come and take part and learn, because if we are reaching out, we want to help everyone. Okay, that to me is the ultimate form of service. We pride ourselves, or that may not be the wisest choice of words, I'm sorry. We try to reach out and serve our brothers and sisters. And I think that education, raising awareness of these issues, and this year in particular, I have asked the DEM to focus on how we can help our differently abled, because we will have a lot of elderly people with mobility issues, other forms of disability. So what can we, who are a bit fitter, do to help those who may have a bit of a challenge? So working with the DEM has always been a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to that.
I think this brings squarely into focus what churches do as well. So from your perspective, what do you do to prepare for hurricane season, for example? Because I know for memberships, a lot of people look toward their church to be able to plan, or to be able to, maybe for those who are not, as economically enfranchised, if we could call it that.
Yes.
They look to their churches to be able to assist them in really getting ready.
Well, what we do, we have a concept that teaches self-reliance. That is a big thing in our church. There are actually formal classes set up to help people understand. We help people prepare for emergencies. There's emergency preparedness when we ask them to set aside a certain amount of non-perishable goods, items and things like that. And yes, people have challenges, but if you can buy an extra can of tuna or corned beef, another 2 rolls of toilet paper, some extra hygienic supplies for the ladies, and put that one side. These are non-perishable items that can be stored, because we're trying to get everyone to have at least 6 months supply of non-perishable items, so that if, maybe when, catastrophe hits, we are not as devastated. We will have something to fall back on. And Ambassador Commijon, when he was speaking, you guys were talking about supply chains. You know, heaven forbid we have another global catastrophe of some kind and we can't get things as easily as we used to. Then you need to have something stored up. You need to have, you know, the joke was in COVID about toilet paper. There were a lot of memes about that, but there's a serious concept underlying all the jokes, and that is that we must be prepared. If we get whacked by a storm, whatever, and the regular stores and everything cannot open for a week, what do we do?
Kathy, I'm so happy you mentioned that, because even COVID-19 brought so many things into focus. I'm going to talk about something that we kind of went through here at CBC. My colleague Nadia, she's not here today. She's back tomorrow. She left us for vacation on the side.
Lucky her.
However, you'd remember that during COVID, very early on, there was like a shortage of hand sanitizer, and everybody wanted to get hand sanitizer to the point where, good morning to everybody, Aymar, bless your souls. We had this coordinated effort here where we were on 3 or 4 different phones calling around to see where they were stocking hand sanitizer. And then we would deploy resources to different branches because you could only buy 2 small bottles. So they were rationing it and so on. And if anybody had said to us a year before that we would make such a coordinated effort to get hand sanitizer, we would probably tell them they're crazy.
You would have fallen over laughing.
Yeah, but the important thing is to plan. And I think that's what's good about you taking this proactive approach.
If ye are prepared, ye shall not fear. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like having a spare tire on your car. I've seen people, and you know, when you're on the school run, you kind of see the same people on the same stretch at the same time. And I remember watching this car, and for about a month, it was running on, you know, the small tire, the small spare tire they have. And I'm like, dude, what's going to happen if that goes down?
Kathy, there must have been a lot of traffic that you observed the man's spare tires.
I love cars. I like cars. I like airplanes. I'm like,
why are you on that spare for so long?
Well, this is it. No, he probably could not do better. I'm not, how to put it? I don't want to be judgmental. That's wrong. But, okay, if that spare goes, if any of the tires go, he can't move.
Yeah, he's up the creek.
You know, so you need to have that backup, whether it is, in our case, I remember when my family was living in Canada, we had an agreement with another family nearby. Now, we had a gas fireplace. But if, excuse me, if the electricity went out or something, we were in Potter. And we're in Whitby, Ontario, where it can get to the wonderful temperature of minus 28 degrees Celsius. Exactly. And so I made an arrangement with a friend of mine, and we said, okay, she had a regular wooden fireplace. So we're like, all right, if God forbid, we lose all our utilities, we had the food and everything, so we will pack it in the car, we will come over to you. So we had an arrangement.
Yeah, a plan in place, and that's what this is,
exactly.
Really. So let's reinforce, what's coming up. So you're going to have Simon Aline of the DEM presenting on a number of areas, and it's not only for your membership.
Oh, no, quite the opposite. We want everybody come in. Come, everybody. It's welcome. Welcome to everyone. We invite everyone. And I would also put in a plug for the DEM website. On that website, there is, can't remember it right now, I'm sorry, Google. But there is a booklet. You can download the PDF. It has a lot of crucial information about preparing for an emergency. It has the list of shelters and the locations and everything and the categories of shelters. For instance, we have 3 chapels, the aforementioned Rendezvous Branch, there's one in Oistins, and there's one in Black Rock. Now those shelters are all very strongly built. It will take a major blow to take the roof off of those. Unfortunately, we don't have emergency generators, we don't have water tanks, but those buildings could shelter people if they can bring their own supplies. So, things like that. And that is standard across the church, across the world. The chapels are built to be as strong as possible to provide shelter for whoever needs it.
All right. Well, I know the Instagram page is dem.barbados. So you can go on and check them out, as Kathy suggested. Google, and there's definitely lots of information there for you to draw on, and the DEM, they really continue to do Herculean work, really, to make sure that the information is out there and that we are prepared. Thank you for coming in, as always, Kathy.
Thank you very much for having us.
Wearing this particular hat today.
Yes, wearing my church hat.
No pun intended, church hat. All right, it's time for another break. We'll have an update of news for you, and still to come, we're talking early childhood education, specifically stimulation early on. So stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oistins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. It's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
So good in a party yet.
You know why?
My friend, you don't plan to get her? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Just around 8 minutes after the 7 o'clock hour, time for an update of the news. Barbados health systems have been beefed up ahead of the ICC Men's T20 Cricket World Cup. Chief Medical Officer Dr. the Most Honourable Kenneth George says his ministry has a critical role to play.
Both ports of entry, air and sea, have stepped up their health surveillance as hundreds of tourists are expected over the course of the ICC Men's T20 Cricket World Cup. Dr. the Most Honourable Kenneth George says systems are ready to deal with any eventuality.
We expect a lot of traffic coming through the Grantley Adams International Airport. And Port Health has been alerted and they are ready to identify disease early and to make sure that persons are brought into the appropriate care. The reason why we have enhanced Port Health surveillance is that persons will be traveling from not only our traditional markets, but some very unusual markets that will be descending within the region of the Caribbean and also Barbados. So we have to first understand their current situation, their epidemiology, and their disease profile in their countries, and then make sure that if disease is transmitted, to identify it early and to make sure that if there's quarantine or isolation required, we can do so quickly.
He adds they're on heightened alert for fever and rash for specific diseases, given the origin of the visitor traffic and their disease profiles.
A pointer to measles, and we are looking for more unusual diseases such as malaria. We're looking at yellow fever, monkeypox, and even Ebola. So we are taking, although the risk may be very low, we first have to consider and then be able to act. Okay. So we have sensitized several of our, not only of our port health staff, but all levels of staff at our ports of entry have been sensitized with respect to disease entering our ports of entry.
All levels of staff at the ports have been trained to see, report, and follow the necessary protocols should sickness present itself when the visitors start arriving in under 2 weeks.
Thank you, Wendy. The Anglican Church of Barbados is making it clear it has not eliminated the sacrament of confirmation. Bishop the Right Reverend Michael Maxwell sought to clear up the misconception during a service to mark the start of Synod 2024. This follows a significant move last December to allow all baptized Christians, including children, to participate in the sacrament of communion. Previously, only people who had been confirmed were allowed to take communion.
Confirmation will still be offered to those who were baptized as infants or children whose parents and godparents made the baptismal promises on their behalf. However, when these children have reached an age of maturity, they will have the opportunity as adults to make their own public declaration of these same promises and affirm their faith in Jesus Christ as Savior and Lord, having, of course, first prepared by way of confirmation classes.
The bishop says, however, those baptized as adults will not require confirmation. A greater emphasis needs to be placed on vocational education as more and more people move away from academia. This is the view of former Chief Building Officer at the Environmental Protection Department, Dr. Sylvan Catwell, who says it is time more options are explored as the world of work continues to evolve. He was delivering the feature address of the 10th anniversary Thanksgiving service of the Caribbean Vocational Career Development Institute at the Church of God of Prophecy in Christchurch.
Our educational system in Barbados has too long retained a primary focus on academics. Greater scope needs to be given to providing career education and vocational development. The focus on academic education and its competitiveness is helpful to some degree. With the world becoming a confined space, opportunities are growing, and so it is vital that we explore more career options based on individual preferences.
Well, Dr. Catwell, who is also a senior elder at the Ellerton Gospel Hall, explains the institute was established to teach living skills, including Spanish, French, singing, drama, cooking, and music, among others. He says vocational skills contribute to a more rounded individual, leading to greater employability.
Career development education is of national significance as it reduces the need for government to bring in people from overseas and thus affords us the opportunity of providing more local jobs.
And on a similar note, significant opportunities exist for Barbadian companies to establish operations in Suriname. That's according to that country's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Albert Ramdin, who has identified subcontracting in the oil and gas sector as one such area.
We have decided in Suriname that any company in the region, any company in Barbados who wants to partner with a Surinamese company, set up a company and register with the Chamber of Commerce will be considered by us as local company.
In sports, Oman defeated a Barbados select squad by 6 wickets in their first warm-up match in preparation for the ICC Men's T20 Cricket World Cup. Playing at the 3Ws Oval, Barbados select posted 176 for 3 in their 20 overs. Opener Lanico Boucher top scored with an unbeaten 87. CBC's Anmar Goodrich-Boyce reports on the first innings.
Oman in red, allowing the Barbados select 11 to have first knock. Belad Kang to Lanico Boucher, that's flicked away for 4. Boucher's opening partner, Cheyenne Braffett, was also enjoying the bowling in the power play, square driving on bended knee through cover point for a boundary. There were back-to-back boundaries for Brathwaite. Here he is again, slapping to the fence through deep cover. Oman decided to introduce spin with Shakil Ahmed, and he received the same treatment as Boucher was in attacking mode for more. Boucher definitely took a liking to Oman's bowling attack. This delivery is smacked straight back past the bowler and umpire for another boundary. Braffett was also doing damage when he got the strike. This is up, up and away for a maximum. Launching, fires butt out of the park. But Braffett's innings came to an end shortly after, missing a straight one and his ball through the gate for 44. Barbados select 86 for 1. Boucher, however, continued to pile on the pressure, going for a big shot and gets the reward. That's 6 runs and a well-played half-century. Shakil Ahmed to the new batsman Kevin Wickham, 6. Lofted shot to wide long off, more runs on the board. Shakim Ahmed to Wickham again, that's 6 more. Now it's Balab Kang to Wickham, full toss, but he's caught at deep point. Naeem Young is the new batsman, and he didn't last long. Caught at long by Ian Kang, 146 for 3. Despite wickets tumbling all around, Boucher stayed focused and brought the innings to an end in grand style, smashing this 6 over the bowler's head as Barbados select ended on 176 for 3. Anmar Goodrich-Boyce, CBC Sports.
Well, in reply, Oman reached the target, finishing on 177 for 4 with an over to spare. And that is this morning's update of news. Join us at 12 noon for Newsday, or tune in to our sister stations, Q100.7 FM, 98.1 The One, and 94.7 FM for the CBC News World at 1 p.m. Morning Barbados continues after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 7:19. Good morning to you if you're heading out today for work or play, whatever you're doing. Make sure you're careful on the roads around Barbados, all right? Leave with a little time so you don't have to rush, because we know the traffic is there. We know the traffic is there, so just be careful. But thanks to those of you who tune in every single day, particularly across the diaspora, and you reach out in a major way, and that means a great deal to all of us here at Morning Barbados. We have lots to celebrate. We're going to tell you all about that in a little bit, but we want to revisit something we started last week, stimulation in the early years. Gail Carter, who is Early Childhood Development Coordinator with the Child Care Board, is back with us. So welcome. Always good to have you.
Always good to be here. Good morning, Barbados, and thank you for having me yet again.
All right. Now, we started something last week that we couldn't possibly finish, and I don't believe we can finish it today either. But it's a wonderful place to start. And we're, of course, talking about stimulation in the early years, looking at preschool education and how we are supervising our little ones.
Yes.
Kind of floated to the top as one of those things that I know that there are many parents out there who feel maybe a little guilty about it, but the children are so entrenched with the watching of the screens and so on. It can be a little difficult sometimes to even pull them away from it. So let's start by reinforcing how important it is to not stimulate our children in particular ways early on.
And it's very important. You see, when we talk about stimulation, stimulation covers a wide range, but it speaks to interaction. It speaks to how you're responsive to the needs of your little one, whether baby, whether toddler, whether preschooler. And it is important that we are engaging in conversation, even if they are watching that educational video. It is important to engage in conversation so that they're making meaning of what it is that they're watching, and they're just not, it's just not busy work, it's just not babysitting. Because if we're not engaging in that conversation, if we're not asking, well, did you enjoy the story? You know, what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Then there's no meaning coming out of it. When we talk about numbers, colors, you know, everybody, in the early years, everybody, you know, those are pretty much the first things that children gravitate towards. Parents would allow them to watch things, letters, because you're learning your letters, you're learning your numbers, you're learning your colors. But if we're not having a conversation afterwards, how does this child understand that this is green, this is red? How do they know what that color looks like away from the screen? How are they transferring that knowledge to real life? So that's why it's important that we have these conversations. And not to say, you know, to stress, children learn language by hearing language. So if they're just focusing on the screen, then I always say we have lots of 3 and 4-year-olds that are speaking with accents that have never left these shores, like we talked about last week. And it is because they're spending constant time on these screens, and that has an impact on the neurological development. Let's all remember that in the early years, that brain development is very rapid. Children take in everything, they soak up everything, they're learning through their senses. So if that's all they're taking in, that's going to impact what's happening up here in terms of the neurons and the connections that are being made.
And I read a few medical articles in the last few days that they seem so far-fetched. I had to double back and make sure that I was looking at a legitimate website. They were talking about children developing nearsightedness at such an irregular rate. It was mentioned that the problem with nearsightedness is then they're exposed to far more eye diseases and stuff like that. And it's because of the focusing on the screen instead of looking further on at other things.
And, you know, Tisha, you can imagine how this will hamper development, because we're talking about the eyes and we're talking about all of those things. But think about just sitting staring at a screen for hours. There's no physical movement, so that hampers the physical development as well. The child is not manipulating Play-Doh, they're not fixing a puzzle, they're not doing anything with their hands other than swiping. So therefore, the physical development, the gross motor muscles that are needed for running and jumping and walking and climbing steps, they're not developing. The fine motor muscles that are needed then for writing, later on, they're not developing. So as much as we think that we're doing a good thing when children are watching, you know, yes, like you said last week, parents are busy, you come home, you have to cook, you have to do laundry. You just need that hour or whatever, but think about the impact that it has in the long run. You know, we will reap what we sow if we're not careful in terms of what we're doing.
Let's talk about socialization and how this plays into this early stimulation that children need.
When you, again, serve and return, when we engage in conversation, babies, when you smile at them, what they see, you know, that's responsive. As toddlers are, you know, they're learning, they're creeping, they're moving around, they're learning through their senses. And if we are not socializing, then imagine what's going to happen when this child does start daycare, when this child does start school in a setting where they have to engage with other children. There are things that we don't think about with young children in terms of waiting one's turn. Having a conversation teaches waiting one's turn, because I'm going to speak and then I'm going to wait. I'm going to allow you to speak. And those are things that are critical life skills. So when we don't allow children to socialize, when it's just a screen, when we don't allow them to interact with others, that hampers their social development. And research would tell you there are certain social competencies, that's social and emotional development. If children do not have those competencies, then learning is very, very difficult.
All right, let's talk about, and let's start with babies and see if we can move through it quickly. What are some of the things we should do? I think it's important to reinforce that, because oftentimes when we tell people what they shouldn't, we neglect to tell them, you know, what are some of the healthy alternatives.
So even from as early as babies, even we may think that children are not responding, but they do respond. So smiling, talking to them, and I mean talking, not the goo goo gaga. I mean, how are you this morning? There's absolutely nothing wrong with using the English to talk to babies. How are you feeling? Oh, you're smiling. I see you're feeling happy. You know, when they start to fuss up, you know, oh dear, what's wrong? You know, all of that is building language, because as much as they can't respond, they are taking in all of that. And so you will be surprised to see that by the time a child reaches 3, that they have so many words in there that they just want to get out. You know, so it's important to talk to them. It's important to play with them. Just in terms of, we talk about mobiles, you know, it's important for tracking, you know, just moving, that eye movement, all of that is important for young children. When they start moving around, we talk about child-proofing our homes. Do not hinder them from moving around. Even if it means that you have to make certain areas secure, you put your stoppers in the plugs and so on, but allow them to move, because that's how they're learning. They're learning through their senses. So you have to allow them to move. Allow toddlers to get down on the floor. Don't keep them in the crib or the high chair constantly because it's convenient. They have to move around. Talk to them, read stories, you know, sing songs. You know, if you're playing those nursery rhymes, they don't have to watch it, they can listen. Listening is a skill that we also have to develop. So you want to be able to engage those things with children, and never, ever underestimate what young children can learn and what they can do.
How important is it for us to get them outdoors? I mean, for us. I mean, there was no question there.
Absolutely.
Parents had to work hard to keep us inside.
No question at all. And only this morning, I was saying to Kathy, you know, as a young child, I don't even remember learning how to read. I just felt like I always had a love for books and always loved reading. And play is very important. Letting children go out, run around. We used to imagine a lot. I remember using the hibiscus flowers and cutting them up as seasonings for my food. And we underestimate those things. But creativity and imagination allow children to explore. It builds critical thinking, it builds reasoning, it builds problem solving. And these are the things that are critical for the 21st century learner. So if we're taking those things out, if we're taking play away too early, then what are we doing? You know, we have to allow children to play, go outside and run around, enjoy the fresh air. You know, all of these things are important when you remember playing, I call it picks up. I didn't have jacks. I had a tennis ball and some very small rocks, but that was good fine motor. We grew up, we had to pick rice. That was good fine motor. We started playing with close pegs. That was good fine motor. And so it doesn't take parents, I have nothing against hooked on phonics or leapfrog or any of those things. But even if we can't afford those things, using things in our home, allowing children to help sort laundry, talk about the colors of the clothes as you're sorting, talk about the shapes of things when you're buying groceries. The can is a cylinder, the box of cereal is a cube or cuboid. All of these are things that we can do to stimulate children in our home, because the home is the first classroom. And so we have to allow children to be able to explore. We don't let them mix the drink because they're going to make a mess. Don't let them pour because they're going to make a mess. But all of these things help to build self-confidence. It helps to build self-esteem. It helps to build autonomy. And so we have to allow our children to allow them to explore outside, you know, build that creativity, because this is the foundation for the skills that they're going to need later on in life.
All right. Always great conversation with Gail. We're going to take a break here and come back and continue after this. Remember, if you want to weigh in on the conversations, you can always drop us a line. Good morning. Morning Barbados at cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. You know how we say in Barbados, morning. So morning Barbados at cbc.bb. And we'll field those questions. This is definitely a topic that we have to take in hand, because the way we're seeing things going with our younger ones, it's important that we try to arrest it now. So more is coming up after the break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb. From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you indeed, and welcome back. Gail Carter is still with us. She's an early childhood development coordinator with the Child Care Board. It's still Child Month. So, you know, we're having these discussions now, but very important that we have these discussions even outside of Child Month. And something that stuck with me when we started our discussion last week was talking about putting the screens in front of the little ones. And I really want to double back to that. And, you know, what are some, not only the social implications down the line, but certainly how we are hampering the children from doing basic things like just how they learn.
Last few years in the classroom, because I'm an educator by profession, enjoying what I'm doing at the Child Care Board, working with daycare and seeing the children at a younger age. And one of the things that I've recognized within the last few years of teaching, and even now, I realized that I literally had to do a lesson in how to fix a jigsaw puzzle. That blew my mind, because a puzzle was something that parents would, by the time you got to school, this is something that children knew how to do. And so, because with the screen, everything is instant. You open the puzzle, you swipe. If it doesn't if it doesn't fit, it flies back out, and and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that all of these things aren't good for children to get the exposure, but to what extent are we giving the exposure? I spoke to a parent in one situation who said that when I asked how much screen time does your child have, the child is on a screen from evening until night, and so we have to bear in mind, I don't know about you, Tisha, when I sit in the office and I stare at the computer for too long, it impacts me in a negative way. I have to take breaks. So can you imagine if an adult with brain already developed and, if this is impacting me in this way, imagine a young child, 3, 4, 2, because persons are putting them on the screens from very, very early, sitting and staring at a screen for hours. Again, it is impacting the physical development. And to bring it home, that's going to impact how that child walks. That's going to impact how that child moves, because that child is sitting, the bones are still developing, the muscles are still growing. And if all this child is doing is sitting and watching a screen, then you can see how that's going to impact the physical development. It's going to impact the cognitive development in terms of the intellectual. So even though they're repeating things that they may be learning by rote, again, how are they transferring that information? How have they mastered that particular concept? If they can't transfer from what they're seeing on a screen to count in front of them 6 objects and tell you that that's 6. How are they matching the number to the quantity, And again, we see that when they're on for a very long time, and then you have to take that device, we see the behaviors that come as a result of that. And then what's happening is, because when they get into the setting of the daycare, the school, where they have to mix with other children, they don't know how to socialize. And again, children learn behavior that is seen. So we as adults, we go out to dinner and we're having a conversation via WhatsApp with the person who's next to us, or, because we are engrossed in technology. So children will see that and they will mimic that, they will model that, because that's what they are seeing, that's what they're learning and seeing as normal behavior. So it's important for the holistic development of the child. And when we talk holistic, we're talking spiritual, social, emotional, we're talking creative, we're talking moral development. We're looking at the holistic development of the child. How are they going to engage in conflict resolution, learning how to share, if they're not engaging in a back and forth relationship with siblings, with peers? It's impacting our children in a tremendous way.
How do we know that our children are receiving the necessary amounts of stimulation for them to be able to thrive?
I think it's important for every parent to know about child development. And this is not just in terms of, we always look for when they walk, when they create first words, but I think it's important for parents to know what are the different developmental milestones that your child should be going through at particular ages, and not just physically, but socially. What should your child be doing at 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, socially? And there's so much information out there. The CDC has just put out a new cadre of developmental milestones in such a way that there are lots of pictures, it's reader friendly, it tells you different things that you can do with your children, because what it does too is that it allows for you to be able to pick up when something is wrong. So we always focus on if the child is walking, or but if the child is not maintaining eye contact at the age that they're supposed to be maintaining eye contact, different little things it allows you. So it's important for parents, don't just think about what you're going to name and think about buying all the fancy clothes and everything, but really take in some knowledge. Don't just use the media for TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, but read and educate oneself about what are the different developmental stages that what should my child be doing at 3? What should my child be doing at 4? Because these are important. Parents And that's what we want to do. We want to educate parents. We want to, Parados is there. They have some amazing parenting programs. You can call us at the Child Care Board, 535-2800. Ask any questions. You know, we're always open to having discussions, but we want parents to understand that they play an important role in the development of their child and the holistic development.
And I know something that's near and dear to me is when we speak about language development, it's very important, communication skills as well. And we see so many of our children struggle. I feel even before we started getting so much into technology, what can we do as parents early on outside of the, because, you know, for a long time people were saying, oh, you're too sweet, and, you know, you're talking the little goo gaga, I still can't get past it. I do it sometimes too. But what can we do to ensure that our children are developing in this area? Communication and language skills.
Allow children to speak. Allow them to speak. As a teacher in nursery school, there are times that I would just sit on the floor with my children and allow them to speak. Everything does not have to be structured. And I know we've grown up in a society where children were not allowed to voice their opinions about things. And I'm not talking about allowing children in adult conversations. That's a whole different kettle of fish, if we can say that. But I'm saying allowing children to speak, asking them questions, as opposed to when you pick them up in the evening, as opposed to just saying, how was your day? And you will get good. And that's the end of the conversation.
Because they know how to play us with that.
You know, so frame the question differently. Well, did anything happen today that was different from yesterday? You know, what did you enjoy about today that, you know, made the day so good? Don't just leave it there. You know, engage them in conversation.
I had to do some research to be ready for those little children, you know, because you know they get into that good. Everybody knows good. They just say good because, you know, and I spoke with a young lady who said, you know, I don't feel like parents really want to hear it. They feel like that's what they have to ask, and you say good and get them off your shoulder.
But we have to engage them in conversation. I know when I say to parents, you know, give them choices, talk to them about, you know, that's not something that we know about. So parents tend to think, well, if I give them choices, am I giving up some of my rights as a parent?
Yes.
No. If you have a 3 and 4 year old and you're getting ready for daycare, you're getting ready for preschool, even if they're wearing a uniform, you can give them a choice. Put out 3 or 4 outfits and say, well, what would you like to wear today? You know, as opposed to this is what you're wearing, and then you're going to have that power struggle. They're going to throw a tantrum. You're late for work and everybody's upset, you know, and there goes the morning. Because what we don't understand is that little people, they're human beings too. They have emotions just like we have emotions. They have stressors just like we have stressors. You know, I don't know about you, but you grew up here, you got stressed about, you ain't got paying no rent, you ain't got buying no groceries, but they do have, young children do have stressors, and sometimes we as the adults, we're the stressors. So just engaging them in conversation, talk about what they like, what they don't like, you know, and when we build that communication, when we have conversation, you would be surprised to see that by the time they reach 5, that they have such a rich vocabulary because we're engaging them in conversation. Take them out. You know, one of the things that blew my mind on weekend news when you ask children, so what did you do this weekend? I stay home playing my toys. You know, take them out. Talk about the places that you're going. Talk about how you're getting there. Have conversation in the car, in the bus. You know, parents need to talk to children. I find that parents don't engage children in a lot of conversation. And if you don't talk to them at 3 and 4, Tisha, don't expect them to talk to you at 13 and 14. You have to build it from early.
This is absolutely true. Gail is going to have to come back and wrap up the month with us because, again, I strongly believe that when you tell people what they shouldn't do, you also have to say what they should. So I think that next time around, we're going to look at striking the balance. What do we do to strike the balance? Because technology is not going anywhere.
It's not.
Technology is here to stay. It's growing every single day. So how do we as parents strike the balance so our little ones are au fait and up to scratch with what's happening technologically, but they're also hitting all the markers that they need to hit for stimulation early on in life to set them up for life.
Yes.
Thank you as always, Gail, for coming in and sharing with us. Very insightful.
Thank you for having me. And I like how you ended that, because balance is important. And that is something that we really need to focus on. We don't need to eliminate, we don't need to cut off. How do we find the balance that allows our children to develop holistically?
All right, food for thought until she comes back next time. Now, coming up next, we had an opportunity to see many of the athletes who competed in the Roger Boys Classic and the IFBB Pro competition for 2024 that was held here in Barbados just a few days ago. Many Barbadians gained their pro cards and did well. Coming up, we feature one such young woman who's been at it for quite some time. She's now a pro. That's next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
So good in a party yet. You know why? I need.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it. Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We are still celebrating the Roger Boys Classic 2024, and today is no different. We're joined now by Rashida Belgrave, who won the overall body fitness and also gained her pro card. This time around, congrats, Rashida.
Thank you so much.
I know last time you were here, maybe it's from being in the throes of training and everything else, you were a little reluctant to share with us how you thought you would do, but you came out on top.
I did. And I'm very happy for that. I put in all the hard work. One thing that was the determination if I would compete would be if my ankle would be good in heels, since I had suffered an ankle injury in December. So I would tell myself, still train and periodically just check walking in heels to see how it would feel if my ankle would take and stuff like that. And as time went on, it got better and better. So by the time of the show, then I could last in the heels on stage and do my thing, and it would not hurt or get swollen like after I got out of the heels. So knowing that, I'm still happy that I continued to train despite the fact that I was not sure. And even coming closer to the competition, I just wasn't sure. I wasn't my usual, confident self. And the day of the competition, I was up very early, like 3 o'clock, couldn't sleep, just too anxious for the day to come and pass, after dieting and training, all of that, posing sessions. I just really wanted everything to come to an end. And I'm happy how it ended. And I'm very thankful that the competition had that turnout. They had lots of people from all over the world, really. Lots of competitors, and it was a high level of competition. So I'm grateful for that. And now I can say that I am a pro. And this is something that I wanted from even before I had my daughter. So the last thing I wanted to do before I had her was to become a pro.
And you thought that would happen before then, but nothing before it's time.
Nothing
now.
before
I know
it's
that
time.
you competed in the under 164 centimeter category, and you aced that.
Yes,
you
I
won
did.
that. Usually, then the next part of the competition, the next category is the next height class
Yes.
up. So then there was somebody who won that height class, and then the two of you
Would
have to
battle it
kind of
out.
go one-on-one and face off.
Yes.
What were you feeling at that point in time? Because you know, if you win the overall, you get that pro card. So, you know, after winning the initial one, I would imagine that's one thing. But then to get so close, what were
Yes.
you thinking? What were you feeling at that time?
Let's see. I was kind of confident after the first win. I did review some footage to compare myself to her, and then I was like, I feel good about this. I feel good about this. I really want to get this title and get my pro card, and it seemed within reach. And I just went back on stage. I mean, I had a little back discomfort in my lower back, but I applied some warm cloths to it to help with that. And I came back on stage and I put in everything that I had. I mean, I left everything
On the stage. And let me tell you, you got everything back. They say you get back what you put in, and you definitely left it all out there.
Yes.
What does it take to prepare? And a lot of the times we focus on nutrition and diet and, of course, exercise.
Yes.
But outside of that, we know that you have to make sure you look the part. There are many prerequisites that go into competing.
Yes, it is. And first things first, you must be there mentally. To start any prep, you must be there mentally. Any diet that you're planning to pursue, you must be there mentally first in order to stick it out, to be consistent, and to persevere. And that is exactly my mindset would have been. First things first, and then make sure that I get in the training that I needed to do, hit the target areas, whichever I would have been told about the previous year that may have been lagging. Those were the things that were at the forefront to make sure that I complete all of that, do my training, adding your cardio, and changing up the diet. It is to know when exactly to do what, so that it all comes together, so that when you get on stage, then you bring that package that the judges will be looking for.
And speaking of the package, you know, your costuming is equally as important.
Yes, it
Can
is.
we, you know, spend a little time talking about how important is this swimsuit to be
Yes.
able to show off your assets?
Yes. First things first, you must choose the color that will complement your skin tone. So after you've done that, then it is to choose the bikini, whatever the design that you may want on the bikini. Something that says, you know, a part of your personality as well. And that will complement the jewelry that you choose, the makeup, the heels, the hair, all of that comes together for that package, that ready done package on stage. So yeah, it's very important. It's very important.
What was the feedback like? Sorry, continue.
Sorry, and for me, I try to find ways to, you know, be thrifty when it comes to the designing of the bikini. I found something called an adhesive rhinestone sheet off of Amazon. So I normally purchase that, and then I cut the design out and just stick it onto my bikini, and it transformed from just the plain. I chose yellow this time, from just the plain yellow. Then you will see the outcome. You will see that it looks just like the rest. So that's something that I pride myself in.
Well, that's beautiful. You know, that you were able to accomplish all that you have in the way that you have. What was the response like from the colleagues, the people you train with, your gym, of course,
Yes,
the other Barbadian competitors?
Everybody was very happy for me. They said they're very proud. They're proud of me, and that it was a deserving win. You know, the journey that I've been on is very deserving, and I must say I'm very thankful to them for encouraging me and giving me those helpful words to get me on stage, because I was very reluctant. And I really appreciate everyone, my family, my friends, my co-workers, my clients, my senior fitness program. everyone. I'm very grateful and thankful, and I'm thankful to God for getting me here and bringing me through.
For those people who don't know, what does having a pro card mean to you competing in other spheres?
So know that there is the AFBB Elite Pro League, which I can now compete in. That is a step up from the amateur league. So I'm taking the rest of this year off from competition to just focus on bringing my package next year, which you will see me a little bigger than the size that I am now. But it is totally different. There's prize money involved in the pro league and not at the amateur level. So know that I can do something that I love and be paid for it. And in terms of having this pro card, you may have more opportunities in terms of acquiring more clients and people that may reach out to you in terms of wanting to compete as well. You may have people reaching out to get some tips and tricks, stuff like that, which I'm very open to as well. So this is just if you're in the sport and you're looking to take the next step, this is a great opportunity for you to work towards that pro card so that you then have opportunity to compete at a higher level, doing what you love, improving your physique each time.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Rashida, for sharing with us. Overall body fitness, Roger Boys Classic, and she gained her pro card in 2024. We're more than happy that you were able to accomplish all of this and more this time around.
Thank you so much.
All right, Morning Barbados, we'll be right back.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it. Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying,
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So the Barbados Horticultural Society won another gold. Congratulations at the Chelsea Flower Show for their depiction of Landship Ahoy. Of course, bringing Barbados to life in more ways than one. Now, this is a big deal for our Bait to have the landship inscribed on UNESCO's list of intangible heritage. The government has nominated the Barbados Landship and road tennis for inscription on the UNESCO list of intangible heritage. So thanks for reaching out, Sherwood, to share that with us. And congratulations to everybody over at the Barbados Horticultural Society for that big win. I know that you usually do very, very well, but this means a great deal because now we're going into the area of intangible cultural heritage. Absolutely love it. Now, coming up tomorrow on Morning Barbados, we are talking HR with HERMAB. Juliana Samuel is going to be here. We're looking at information systems and how it can help. Also in our Doc Talk segment with Dr. Paul Rose, we're going to be looking specifically at men's health as we continue with that series. The Barbados UNCTAD Global Supply Chain Forum is starting here in Barbados today, so you can listen out for some updates on that as well. And the Anthony N. Sabga Award Caribbean Excellence takes place this weekend, May 25th, at the Barbados Hilton. Two of the nominees laureates will be here, Carrie-Ann Eiffel and Stefan Walcott. They're going to be in to share with us as we look toward the work that Ansa Macau is doing. That's all coming up tomorrow on Morning Barbados. We want to thank you for sharing with us today, and we most certainly look forward for you coming back tomorrow to be a part of the presentation. Do remember to do good for someone. Wear your smiles as you go about your day, and come on back tomorrow. We'll have a good show. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.